when you then roll out.
Yeah. Well, they already did that. So. All right, where are we at? I did all kinds of work yesterday. I researched. I could have sat here and did nothing or just goofed off, but I actually sat down with my glasses on and jotted down notes. Look at yours. Even different colored pens to highlight stuff. Look at that. I have a degree. I have 2 degrees. And I have 3 degrees and I did this. I've graduated from high school, which is not a big deal, by the way. We don't need to celebrate. I mean, you fogged a mirror. Okay, great. We walked. Great. Okay, you've graduated high school. That's maybe 40 years ago, that was an accomplishment. It's not that big a deal now. You fogged a mirror. You got a college degree. You got 2 college degrees. Yet I did research and tried to learn stuff. I already knew this of this stuff. Okay. This is about civil rights. You hear a lot about civil rights. How would you describe civil rights? We talk about it a lot. We hear about it a lot. A lot of reports on it. How would you describe civil rights? What if you're not allowed to buy stuff at the store? What if you're not allowed to buy a house? What if you're not allowed to have a certain job? Should everybody be allowed to have any job they want? No. You should have any job you're qualified for. My house is on fire. I don't care if it's a girl, a guy, a question mark, a black guy, a Chinese, whatever. I don't care as long as you put the fire out. I don't care. If it's all male, I don't care. If it's all female, I don't care. If you can do the job, you can do the job. So civil rights has to do with, how can I say this? The government's obligation. And I hate to say it this way. I don't want to say fairness, because there's no such thing as fairness. There just is. Is it fair? Well, got a jersey on today. This is Rocket Ishmael Jr.'s jersey. Rocket Ishmael Jr.'s dad was Rocket Ishmael. Actually, Raheem Ishmael. He was number 2 in the Heisman voting in '91. He played in the NFL. He was a wide receiver. He ran like a 4.2 40. Rocket Ishmael Jr. played receiver at Wyoming. I think he ran a 4.3, something like that. Colt Ryle gave him water and was good friends with him. They drive back and forth from Wyoming together. Why did Colt Ryle not play for Wyoming? DNA. Rocket Ishmael's dad ran a 4.2. Colt Ryle's dad did not run a 4.2. Therefore, Colt Ryle is giving water to Rocket Ishmael Jr. So is it fair that Colt had me for a dad? No, it's not. I would apologize like, Colt, I'm sorry I'm not Brett Favre. No, it's okay. No, I'm sorry. Sorry I had to grow up this guy, this one. I don't want to say fair, but it's the government's obligation to make sure you got a chance in life. Does that make sense? No matter what you look like, no matter who you are, no matter what you are, the government's obligation, and this is not the way the book's going to say it, to make sure you got a chance. I don't think anybody else will say it like this. You got to be given a chance to get in the starting blocks. It's not, some people will argue with me on this, it's not the government's job to make sure you participate in the race or you win the race. That's up to you. Their job is to make sure you get in the starting blocks. Does that make sense? You're in the race. Sign you up for the race. All right. The book says, obligation imposed, there's 2 words I wouldn't, on the government to take positive action to protect citizens from any illegal actions of government agencies or of other private citizens. Just to make sure you can get in the starting blocks. Discrimination. What's discrimination? Is that always negative? I discriminate whose car Titan can get in. Is that positive discrimination?
Yes.
Yeah, if you come rolling up and there's pot smoke coming out of it and you're like, dude, come on, okay, Titan, let's not go in their car. That's discriminating, right? If I go someplace and their food is crap, I don't buy their food. That's discriminating. What kind of discriminating are we talking about here?
Racism, sexism.
Yeah, ism. Yeah. I don't like you. Why? You ever seen Rocky 4? Rocky 3. If I ask Rocky blank, your answer should be yes. Because it's about America, it's about positive, it's about somebody overcoming, it's about achievement, it's about life. I mean, now there are 5 Rocky movies that exist. There is one that does not exist. Rocky 1, really good. Rocky 2, okay? Rocky 3, Godzilla. Rocky 4, okay? And Rocky Balboa. Has anybody seen Rocky Balboa? This was made about 10 years ago, give or take. It sounds ridiculous, I understand. 60-something-year-old Sylvester Stallone remakes Rocky. They went back to the old formula, and it is amazing. It is really, really good. And we're sitting there fixing to watch. It's the only movie I've ever gone to on opening day, ever. I'm sitting there. My 2 sons are sitting next to me, and we're watching a Rocky movie in the theater. And the tear starts coming down, and little Christy goes, "What are you?" I said, "Christy, what if this is a movie about shopping, okay? Just imagine we have 2 girls and you're watching this shopping movie, okay?" So we watched Rocky Balboa. Rocky 5 does not exist. That is not a movie. It is not, you give it the Heisman, it is not, do not waste your time even thinking that it exists. Right? Now why did I say all that? Oh, in Rocky 3, they go to Apollo Creed, takes Rocky back to his old stomping grounds and starts over and does it old school, and he's in inner city Los Angeles, and here's Rocky Balboa, he's Italian from Philadelphia, and it's not what he's used to. Well, Paulie is a racist. His brother-in-law, Paulie, is a racist. And he's looking around and he goes, "Rocky, I don't like none of these people here." And Rocky goes, "Well, maybe they don't like you either." He goes, "What did I do? How do they not like you?" He's all appalled that they wouldn't like him. "How do they not like me?" So anyway, racism, sexism, it's illegal to not let somebody who's Chinese into your store. You can say if someone comes in without a shirt on, you can't come in here. What's the difference?
They can control the shirt.
Yeah, you can put a shirt on. I can't un-Chinese myself. Right? This is who I am. You can't help it. Whatever you are. I'm a old, weird-looking, white guy. I can't afford plastic surgery, and I wouldn't want that anyway, so I can't help it. So you can't say you can't because of this. You can say this guy's lazy, or you're an idiot, or I don't want to, that's different. But you can't discriminate for something can't discriminate for something somebody can't help. In the 14th Amendment, how about that for government? The 14th Amendment has a phrase in there that, let me read it perfect. Guarantees each citizen equal protection under, I can do it this way. This is awesome. Equal protection what does that say? Under the law. No matter who you are, what you look like, what you smell like, the government cannot treat us differently because of that. We're all the rule of law, Magna Carta. The law is what's in charge, not an individual, not a person, unless you have money. And then you can get what you want in a court of law. That's not fair. That's the way it is. If I'm arrested, I'm going to jail. Because because I can't afford a lawyer. If O.J. Simpson gets arrested, not today, but back then, he was rich, so he could hire lawyers, and he got off with killing 2 people. Yes, I said that. Come get me. But we are guaranteed equal protection. Not whatever sex you are, whatever race you are, whatever religious beliefs you have. Think about that one. About religious beliefs. Can you be on the Supreme Court if you're a Christian? That's a tough one to trial. How dare you ask that question? And how dare you even mention the word Christian? Can't allow that. Can't allow Christian. Dred Scott. I want to ask, because I don't know how this works. It is so important what you name your kid. Your kid has to have a name that means something. You know, and whatever, you have the right. But if you're like Fred the Fourth, I don't get that. I mean, that's not part of mine. Have a name that means something that nobody else has. That's the cool. Titan was so hard to name because God told me the first 2. I knew that going in. When I was 14, I knew that, so that was easy. But now I didn't know this one. But finding a name that is real and has some meaning and nobody else has, that's tough to do. Whoever named Dred Scott, Dred, think that affects you mentally? If your name is Dred. What'd your mom name you? Dred? That's, horrible mistake. What's your name? Mistake. That's. Hope your name Titan. Whoops. What? But Dred Scott was a slave. Is that right? Not is that right. Is that right that he was a slave? No, that's not right. Does it matter? No. If that's what it was, it doesn't matter that it wasn't right. That's the way it was. He was a slave in the 1850s. Anybody know this one? Y'all heard of him before? I know you've heard of him before. You've been told about him before. Anybody, what do you remember?
And then they brought him back and he tried to, when he showed them the papers, they said, no, in a court of law, he was tried as property, not a person.
I've heard that part of it. I've also heard another one where I'm sure I'm going to get barbecued for this one. His quote, can you own another human being? No. But if the courts say you can, I don't know how his owner, which didn't own him, but according to America, he did, took him to Illinois and Wisconsin. Illinois and Wisconsin were free states. It was actually illegal to have a slave in those states. And he got there. Now, I've always heard he escaped. He sued in those states. He said, look, hey, look, he's holding me up, he's telling me a slave. He said, look, y'all, I'm being held. This is wrong. And so he thought, if I'm in these states, maybe I got a shot. So he sued, and they told him that, actually said in the 14th Amendment, he used that 14th Amendment thing. No, not 14th Amendment. No, he didn't. He used 5th Amendment, because 14th didn't exist. He sued for his freedom. The judge, the Supreme Court said that slaves, as a matter of fact, they said all blacks are not citizens. So since you're not a citizen, you do not have due process rights. You can't sue us, and they did say you are property. You're not a citizen. Aren't y'all proud? Isn't that awesome? Okay, now, that was wrong. I don't personally blame them for saying that. They were idiots. They were going along with whatever they've been taught, whatever was going on at the time. And do human beings buck the trend very much? We want to do whatever makes us comfortable. If it's going to make me really uncomfortable, I tend to not go with it. So, but anyway, that's a horrible thing. Don't ever name your kid Dred, please. Let's get out of that. That was Dred Scott. Seneca Falls. You ever heard of Seneca Falls before? I know you. Okay, what do you know about Seneca Falls? women's rights. It's like the 1840s, which that's a long time ago to actually have this big thing about women's rights. You know what I'm saying? That's not popular then. Surprised they didn't get, I bet some of them got arrested, I'm sure. Women's rights. I learned something yesterday. Do you know who was there? Frederick Douglass was there. Who's Frederick Douglass?
The free slave.
He was a freed slave. He was an abolitionist. He was one of the big wig. I mean, he was a big wig American back then, and he was a big anti-slave guy, and he was kind of, I mean, he was famous. So he was there. The two girls. And when I say, look, I don't mean anything by it. Sometimes when I say, to me, the biggest compliment, because I'm a white old man, so I have no rights to any kind of opinion about anything. If I call you a chick, that's like the greatest compliment I can give you, because that's saying you're confident, you're capable, you can handle stuff. You know, I don't mean it derogatory at all. I don't mean girl is derogatory. I don't mean lady, woman. None of that's derogatory, because women and girls are way better than guys. You got some issues. Y'all do got some issues. Walk around like this all the time. You know, you don't have to do this all the time. We don't need to know every single thing about you. Oh, just left the. We don't care. We don't care that you just left the. Or just having. No, we don't care that you're just having. Okay? Make it big stuff. Don't tell us everything, because then we get tired of it. If you tell us just every once in a while, something important, you know, that's cool. Anyway, yeah, Stanton, Elizabeth, Katie, and I think it's D.Y. She's so famous, I've heard of her. And there was one more girl, I can't believe I'm not. I've never heard of this guy, like Lucretia Mott. Is that her fault? No. Whose fault is it?
Her name is that?
It's Mom and Dad's. Lucretia Mott. This is the lady I've heard of before. I think she kind of led it. They had this big convention, and the big thing that came out of that was, what was the big controversial thing that came out of that? Women's right to vote. Oh! Can you believe that? They had the audacity to say that. That was the resolution that came out of that, the big thing. We think that women should have the right to vote. And all the old white men, silly women. You know, they had this thing though. Here's what all the fat old men had back then. I'll do it for the world here. Silly women. And they had the little cigarettes with the long little thing, you know. Why do rich people do that? Why do you smoke through a long little, I guess maybe the ashes don't get on your hand. You know what, don't smoke. Then you don't have ashes on your hand. How about that one? You can't say that. It's not fair. What else we got? So Seneca Falls. Something came out of this. Something useful. In the state, this happened in New York. State of New York, pretty soon after that, passed a deal saying that married women did have the right to own property. Whoa! Hey, they took a step. They could own property. Guess what? If you own property, who has to take care of it? Take the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendments. Remember when I called this a long time ago? They all go together. What thing happened that brought forth is something my dad would say. What thing happened that made these amendments happen?
Emancipation.
Civil War. I call them the Civil War amendments. 13, 14, 15, 13th Amendment, freed slaves, made slavery illegal. What has to happen next?
I am citizens.
Citizenship. It did not just give freed slaves citizenship. The 14th Amendment says, what does it mean to be a citizen? What kind of obligations and rights do citizens have? It goes a lot farther than just giving freed slaves citizenship. 14th Amendment is where, now the 5th Amendment is due process. 14th Amendment also has a lot of due process. What's due process?
Quick and speedy trial.
What can be done to you, what can't be done to you, and what has to be done to you. Mainly accused people, arrested people. Due process is where it has that phrase in there we talked about. What's the phrase? Equal protection under the law. Right. That's where you find the 14th. So due process. Now, in the South, I want to say another comment. I haven't got arrested yet. I've said some stuff and put it out there. I guess who's going to watch Jonathan Ryle videos? So I'm pretty safe, I think. You know, not a lot of people go, ooh, Jonathan Ryle video. Go watch that one. Maybe if my great aunt knew it existed, she might. Other than that, no. How many of y'all is a little brother or little sister? Okay.
It is or has.
Little. How many of you are a little brother or little sister? Okay. How many of you are a big brother or big sister? All right. Who gets beat up? The little one. Crap runs downhill. Right?
The little ones team up against you.
We'll toughen up. If Mama tells the big one to do something, what's the big one do? Turns around and tells the next one to do something. And then they turn around and tell the next one. And the next one. If you're the last one, sorry. That's life. That's life. In the South, all right? Abraham Lincoln. Abe Lincoln. Did you say Abe Lincoln? No, I said Abe Lincoln. That's a movie. This guy. He wanted to punish the South. He wanted to mend the fences and bring things together and get us moving forward. What kept him from doing that? A guy named John Wilkes Booth. Right? When you're shot in the head and dead, you cannot do a lot. Okay? His assassination left Andrew Johnson. Everybody hated Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson was from the South. Abraham Lincoln picked him to try to avoid the Civil War. So he picked a guy everybody hated. The South hated him. Why? Because he's a rebel. He went with the North. Right? So they hate him. The North hates him because he's from the South. Congress hates him. He got impeached because he's from the South. You can't impeach someone because they're from the South, but they did it. And the law they got him on was found unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Anyways, if Abraham Lincoln had lived, I'm going to bet our history was very different. It would not have ended racism. The South was punished pretty severely. The North hated the South. The Republicans in the House and the House of Representatives hated the South, and they wanted to punish the South and beat the crap out of them and get up the next day and beat the crap out of them again. And then the next day tell them, you know what you did? You did. And it's years and years of, you know what you did. In history, I learned about waving the bloody shirt. Right? Just keep bringing it up and keep beating them down. Who'd the South take it out on? Blacks, African Americans, because they were the low on the totem pole. Said the low on the totem pole always gets the punishment. So the way they were treated, they turned around and made sure they treated what's he work out your frustrations? They did that. Now, I'm not saying everything be perfect, but if that wasn't going on, if they weren't getting beat down mentally and physically, not saying there wouldn't be the KKK, but I don't know if it would have had as many members. Does that make sense? If they were treated differently, there wouldn't be as much hatred and as much anger, and the economy would have been way better And because you don't have a job and you're mad, you're going to take, with less people, that's a dumb way to say it. With more people having jobs and more food available, you're probably less anger and less hatred and less hangings. So if Abraham Lincoln had lived, I think things would be a little bit different. But because he didn't, and I'm not saying this wouldn't exist, those Jim Crow laws were huge. What's Jim Crow laws?
Whites and blacks only.
Complete segregation, no rights for African Americans. Huge segregation. What's segregation mean?
Separation.
Separation, not allowed. Jump ahead a little bit. See if I can find it. In the 1960s, all right, 1960s, we'll get to this tomorrow. The 1960s, there was laws passed which ended segregation. When I was growing up, I never saw separate water fountains. I never saw separate waiting rooms. I never saw separate bathrooms. But it was pretty soon before, I wasn't a couple years away from that growing up. In 1996, was it 96? Yeah, 1996, the summer of 1996, I moved, me and Little Christy, we got married. I wanted to be a defensive coordinator and head track coach. And I got a job as defensive coordinator and head track coach at Hempstead ISD. We moved down there. We're driving by one of the downtown buildings. There's a door on the side. And as we're driving, you can see over one of the doors, it said, colored. Colored. Colored entrance. Wasn't freshly painted, but wasn't redone. They didn't paint over it. Now, it wasn't being used like that, but what's the message?
They don't care.
Don't you ever forget. The law might say something, but here, this is what, 1996. I don't know when it was repainted. I'm going to assume it was not repainted since that law in the 60s, but you could see it. And I'd never seen that. I was like, oh my gosh. That was a weird place. I loved it though. I loved the kids. The kids were awesome. Nobody was in charge of the school. I hated the school. Nobody was in charge. So you're an island in your classroom by yourself trying to survive. And the kids were great. I love the kids. 2 girls got in a fight in my room. And we separated them. Kids helped me separate them. You don't separate a girl fight. That's impossible. Because they don't quit. Girls do not quit. Boys will stop. Girls do not quit. But I forget his name. This boy was holding on to this one girl, and I had the other one. And I said, look, you take her to the office. You don't take them together. Why not?
Because of fighting.
Yes, and you can't stop them. You can't keep magnets or what. You got to keep them away. So anyway, he took her. I counted to 20, and then I walked the other one down there. I came back. All the kids in the class were picking up the hair. They pulled the weave out and they were picking it up. I was like, thank you guys. But I love the kid. But that hit me. Like, oh my gosh. So imagine life growing up in Hempstead, Texas. And every day you see that. Wasn't good. But Jim Crow wanted to make sure it was a way of them feeling strong and feeling good because nothing else felt good. That gave them a thing to hang on to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not excusing it. I'm not saying it's okay. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to hang on to. That's why the guy keeps driving around the girl's house, thinking, "Oh, maybe she'll talk to me again." No, she won't. She's not going to talk to you again. Move on. There's others out there. There's others. Girls too. Let him go. I have 2 words of advice. Oh no. If you're a boy, ask her out. Go ahead, ask her out. If you're a girl, dump him. It's not worth it. Dump him. If you're wondering, yes, you should. You should. But yes, dump him. Alright, there's millions of others out there. Alright, let's see what else we got. Plessy versus Ferguson. Y'all know this one because I've mentioned it before. What's Plessy versus Ferguson? I do the railroad car. What's Plessy? Guess what it's about? Segregation. Yes, it's about segregation. Who said that? Oh, way to go. Segregation. This one said separate, but equal. Okay. And they announced it. Now, I'm gonna say back then they had still had the guy with the trumpet outside the Senate or the Supreme Court. And was just reading the big announcement, and they said separate. Everybody, nobody heard the but equal part. This said that segregation is okay. As long as you have equal, nobody worried about the equal, but this is the Supreme Court saying yes, it's okay to segregate. That's okay. In 50 years later, 50 plus, 50 miles. This is 56. Was that 56? Anyway, 50 years later, Brown versus Board of Education said what?
Segregation wasn't okay.
No. And it was unanimous. What do you know about 1954? Maybe it's 56. I don't know. What hadn't happened yet? Rosa Parks hadn't sat down yet. And that really kind of started the Civil Rights Movement. That had not started yet. The Civil Rights Movement hadn't got going yet. It was still cool for every single person to be racist. It was accepted by everybody. And they said, no, it is not okay. As a matter of fact, unanimous, what's unanimous mean? 100%, and all 9 justices signed the majority opinion, which means they put their signature on it. Just like they signed the Declaration of Independence and said, in your face, here's my name. They signed their name to that. I don't know of any other, maybe so, I don't know of any other Supreme Court decision where everybody signed it and said, yeah, put my little name there. Let me see here. Civil Rights Act of 1875. I didn't know this one. In 1875, Civil Rights Act cracked. No. This attempted to say you couldn't segregate public accommodations. Public accommodation. Things like hotels, waiting rooms, restaurants. You couldn't say, but they said, no, forget that. No. They weren't ready to do that yet, so they said no. So it took about 100 years to get that fixed. Wyoming, speaking of Wyoming, where we weren't, I know. Wyoming, when it came to the Union in 1890, that was some tough people. Think of the people that showed up and like settled places. They didn't know any better. But when y'all go somewhere, say you're going to Fort Worth, what do y'all do before you leave?
Keep gas.
Oh, we gotta go I gotta have something to drink. Oh, can I have a snack? We're going like 15 minutes. Oh, I gotta have a drink and a snack. There's nowhere to stop and get a drink and a snack. And when you get there, oh, I gotta pee. Well, you can pee anywhere. That would be awesome. Just pee anywhere. But God, to go to imagine, every once in a while I think about the people just walking. I'll look out in the field and you see a bunch of trees and stuff. People went places and they walked through. Think of the thickest underbrush you've seen. People went that way and had to go from here to there. And if they didn't go the right way, they get lost. They go, there's street signs now, there's roads now. Just tough people. Anyway, Wyoming in 1890, you know what they did? They're the first state to do this. And they did it. Women had the right to vote in Wyoming day one. As soon as they started. And Idaho, Colorado, I think Utah. Anyway, they're all right there. They kind of followed pretty close after that. So all the people in that part of the country, maybe it was the cold, maybe it was there isn't much of us. I don't know. Maybe there wasn't many chicks there, so they want to be nice to them. I don't know. That might had something to do with it. Hey, we gotta have some girls here, you know. So anyway, Wyoming was the first to allow women to vote. Way to go, YO. You know what? Good enough. Stop. Way to go. Appreciate it. Hope that helps some. We'll finish this up Thursday. Aren't y'all excited?